how to communicate, when to communicate. That sounds like a very easy question. It sounds like it's like intuitive. Well, sometimes you just feel like picking up the phone and make a phone call. Sometimes you drop an email and gonna work out fine, right? Well, it turns out that the most effective leaders and managers and employees actually have a logical system behind the structure of how they communicate and which structure and system they use. I want to give you a little bit of an insight today. So the basic structure is that we need to differentiate communication into a few segments. Well, the first scale that we kind of have is the question, is the communication in sync? Like if we have a phone call, if we have a meeting, if we have a Zoom meeting or a personal meeting, it doesn't really matter. Is it in sync like in a chat? Or is it in the end asynchronous? Like if you drop an email and somebody is not live and it takes a day until they respond. In chats, it can be synchronous when the other one is online and you're in the flow. It can be asynchronous when they just read it in the evening. Asynchronous communication is a little bit interrupted. And here you always have a time delay, so extra time that it costs before you get an answer. Another structure is the question on how effective can the communication be? Now, what makes good personal communication effective in the first place? And this is what I want to show you with a few levers that there are. So the first lever that we have is the lever of appreciation. Now, this is about the relationship management that we're having. So if I take the time, if I maybe travel a few hours to just meet one person really in life, this is a higher appreciation, and that is optimizing the personal relationship. And the personal relationship is something that makes a difference about the question whether you're gonna have success in any kind of communication or influence. Somebody that you're fighting with, well, this is tricky, this is a challenge. There, it's really hard to influence and to get what you want. A very good friend, somebody where a lot of appreciation is felt, where a good relationship is created over the time, is something where it feels easier to make sure to get what you want. Now, from that general point, we go into the second layer of it, which is the question on the impact of communication. So, how is your communication actually making a difference? Now, if we are having a meeting where you're sitting face to face, there's many levels on how you can make an influence. The first one is the topic of body language. The second one is the topic of voice modulation. And the third one is the topic of which content you use. Now, those three topics, body, voice, and content, they are in a specific relationship, and sometimes you pick a communication channel where you are missing a few of those. So if you send an email, you just transfer content. There's no body language, there's no tonality. That increases misunderstandings. Now there's a famous study by a guy called Merabian, which is typically cited in a very wrong way. What he did is he tested out how incongruent communication would affect people. They had, in that study, participants say some things like, "This is the worst day of my life." Or things like, "I'm super happy, I'm really excited beyond belief." And the question then was, what did you understand? And it turns out that body language and voice modulation, especially if it's incongruent, have a huge impact on delivering your point. That's why we start introducing emojis in emails or in chat messages to bring a little bit of the body message and the voice tonality around and have that coded layer of the message also transferred. So the more impact you want to have, the more you want to make sure that there is body language optimized, there is voice modulation optimized, and there is content optimized. Now, having the appreciation, having body language, voice modulation, and content optimized is something that is advocating for a personal communication. And also the logic of how synchronicity works is something that is also for it. Now, in every synchronous communication, you have something that is called a feedback channel. So let's say you assume that somebody got an information already, and you say something assuming that the other one has understood that information. And right away, they are like, huh? Now you see their facial expression and go like, oh, wait, something's wrong here. And you ask, hey, didn't you hear yet? Now here you can correct it right away. If you had sent an email with that same content, you wouldn't have seen the reaction. They wouldn't maybe have understood why the fuck you're communicating so weirdly, and they would have maybe just not answered. And it would have just stayed in the air. Now, this is the whole setting of understanding how the logic of communication is actually working. And with that basis, we can get to a point that the basic recommendation is, the more important any communication is, the more you want to go for synchronicity, and the more you want to go for having body language, voice modulation, and content available. And as a last step, not every content is digestible the same time. So content that I just give you in writing needs more time to be consumed. Content that I visualize is maybe easier to consume. If I visualize and explain, it's even more easy. So the speed of consumption in context in the content level is also some question of how I optimize and organize the content. So I can show you that with one example with the next topic that we have. And here I right away visualize it for you to make it easier for you to understand the content. And this is kind of a transferring the information that we had now as well as adding it into. So if you have any kind of communication demand, you know that there is some information that you need to give over to a colleague or receive from a colleague or many colleagues, there is a basic differentiation that you can go for. The first one is it easy content or is it complex content? Like, hey, colleague, I was wondering, what was the invoice number for that one client? Did you get the PDF? And if yes, can you hand it over? That is easy communication. Complex communication is everything where there's emotions involved, where there's like, something is wrong, but I'm not sure what it is exactly. Where the communication is needed to entangle that and to really understand it before you actually can take any action on top of it. Now, easy and complex are the first two levels. Now, the another level is it urgent or is it non-urgent? So how quick do you need that information for you to complete your work? Now, if you have for any kind of communication demand, if you have that differentiation, we can orient you a little bit in what typically is the best communication format for you that you can pick. Now, if it's an easy thing that needs to be solved urgent, and maybe you reflect it for a second, well, typically making sure that there's a call of any kind of phone call, a quick Teams or Zoom call, something where it's quick, someone's responding right away, and there we see that we get the response and it's easy. If that call is not possible, one nice thing to retract to is a chat. Now, chat is a little bit less synchronous, a little bit more asynchronous. Could be if somebody's in a meeting and in the break can quickly respond. So sometimes you first want to try to give it a call, and second, then want to try the chat. Then, if it's non-urgent, well, typically you can also go for the chat, but typically the chat is more nice to have things that you should react to right away. So typically we have here a setting where an email could be a first structure, and ideally you are having the rhythm of checking your emails 3-4 times a day and not all the time. And if it's non-urgent, then you can wait till the other one has checked the email. Maybe they're on a workshop for a day and can check it on the next day. That is fine if it's non-urgent. And ideally, in your organization, there is some kind of collaboration and social collaboration work management tool up and running, a shared to-do list of some sort where you have tasks and you track comments to tasks. This could be Asana, Jira, or a special way of using Outlook and any kind of connected tools. And this is an option where you, within the work management system, in the task that you're working on, comment like @colleague and then ask there. Sometimes it makes sense to also connect both levels. In teams where there is a work management system up and running, what we typically recommend is you have something urgent and then you send the link to the task in the work management system via the chat function and ask, can you please quickly reply here? Or can you reply in the chat so that I can put it in the work management system? That makes sure that all the information is kept at one space and that also all the other colleagues can see the answers and can refer to it, and we have a high transparency. So if it's getting urgent, the chat can lead you to the work management system. If not, then the work management system should be treated like any kind of email, like checked 2-3 times a day so that you're up and running, and that easy things can be checked off right away. So having asynchronous communication and a lack of a feedback channel for anything that is complex is a problem. And typically, some complex things can be completed via a call or maybe an ad hoc meeting, like, hey, can we please quickly jump in a Zoom or Teams room and discuss something? But basically, the more complex, also the more emotional and critical it is, the more you would like to see that a meeting is happening where you actually meet with those people who are concerned. The more people are in there, the more you might need a moderation. And you need to make sure that the meeting is moderated right, with to-go time as an organizing tool, with methods that bring the best out of you. So those meetings should be something that are quick, and typically when it's very urgent, you go for phone calls and try to reach somebody, or you go for an ad hoc meeting, or you schedule a meeting then this evening or the meeting the next morning. For anything non-urgent, there's basically one and only one setting where it should be, and this is in the regular meeting system. So it would be lovely to see that every organization has a scheme of meetings, something like every 2 weeks we discuss all the team issues, and every second Monday we discuss in a meeting Project A, and at another point we discuss Project B, so that every topic has a regular meeting schedule where the questions can be asked. And then you collect it as a to-do, as a task for that meeting, and you bring it up and have it cleared then. The moment where you jump out of that system, what you're creating is a lot of time, effort where it shouldn't be. You're making the meeting routine less reasonable, because if you have discussed everything non-urgent here already, or if you have sent thousands of emails here for the non-urgent things, well, then the regular meetings should also be getting less and less. And this is also the last check-up that you should do. If it's non-urgent, why would you want to send an email and put it in a work management system if you anyways can put it into the meeting structure? And this is something about intuitive judgment. Well, there's no 100% right or wrong. Sometimes it makes sense to just not send an email, save the emails and save the energy and save the effort. Everybody is annoyed by too many emails, so don't write them. Just put it in the work management system and put it on the date where the next meeting is, so that you can quickly check it off, work it through, and hoppa, there you go. Now, make sure that the communication structure is something that is helpful and that is the most effective and efficient as it can be. That also includes infectious disease called Caesaritis, where we CC everyone and everybody for everything. Only put people in CC who really need to know, And ideally, you have a work management system where the content is anyways, and then nobody needs to be CC'd in the first place, and you can save also the email. Go with that structure. Ask yourself, is it easy? Is it complex? Put it in the right communication channel, and then make sure that your communication is as succinct as possible. Do not say any more words than you need to. Do not write any more words than you need to. Have fun communicating.